Imagine this. A Spanish ship is smashed to pieces by a hurricane in the Caribbean. Survivors drift for weeks, starving and delirious, clinging to life on a small boat. At last, salvation. The white beaches of Yucatán rise before them. They collapse on the sand, weeping with joy, believing their nightmare is over. But from the jungle, shadows emerge. Warriors painted like jaguars, obsidian blades gleaming in the sun. Within minutes, the Spaniards are bound, dragged to a stone altar. 4 men are thrown down, screaming. Their chests are split open, their hearts torn out and lifted high before the gods. Flames consume their bodies as the rest of the captives watch in terror. Among them is one soldier whose destiny will defy every law of history: Gonzalo Guerrero. A Christian conquistador who will transform into a tattooed Maya warlord. To Spain, he would be cursed as a traitor. To Mexico, remembered as the father of the Mestizo nation. This is his story. Chapter 1. Soldier Without a War. Born around 1470 in the small Andalusian town of Niebla, Gonzalo Guerrero grew up in poverty. Like many boys with no inheritance, his only escape was the army. As a teenager, he fought in the final campaigns of the Reconquista, Spain's long war to drive the Moors from Iberia. On January 2, 1492, Granada fell. For Spain, it was triumph. For Gonzalo, it meant unemployment. He knew nothing but battle, and suddenly peace left him without purpose. Seeking work, he fought under Gonzalo de Córdoba in Italy, where he learned modern warfare. Gunpowder, trenches, disciplined formations. He became a hardened veteran. But when peace came again, men like him were cast aside. Guerrero was a soldier with no war, a blade with no battlefield. Chapter 2. The Call of the New World. In Spain, word of Columbus's discovery electrified the nation. Gold, untamed lands, kingdoms waiting to be conquered. For men like Guerrero, it was irresistible. By 1510, he had crossed the Atlantic, serving under Governor Diego de Nicuesa in Veragua, a brutal frontier of plantations, slavery, and constant skirmishes. Gonzalo was again living by the sword. Then, in August 1511, came the voyage that would change his life forever. Chapter 3. The Shipwreck. The Santa Maria de Barca set sail with about 20 men and 2 women. A hurricane struck within days. The ship shattered. Survivors clung to a small open boat, drifting for weeks under the merciless sun. Skin blistered, lips cracked, bellies shrank. Some drank seawater and went mad. Others simply lay down and died. At last, land. The coast of Yucatán. They staggered ashore, too weak to stand, whispering prayers of thanks. But salvation turned to horror. Maya warriors from the Cacoma tribe surrounded them. Painted in jaguar spots, with feathers in their hair and blades of volcanic glass, they moved like predators. 4 Spaniards were dragged to an altar. Their screams tore through the jungle as obsidian knives cut into their chests. Priests raised still-beating hearts to the gods, blood spraying across stone. The bodies were burned, the flesh eaten in ritual. The rest, enslaved, Of all the castaways, only 2 would endure. A friar named Jeronimo de Aguilar and Gonzalo Guerrero. Chapter 4. A slave among the Maya. Guerrero and Aguilar were forced into brutal labor, hauling stones, planting maize, suffering under the whip. Aguilar clung to prayer. Guerrero watched, listened, adapted. Years passed. They learned the language, absorbed the customs. Aguilar resisted, but Guerrero saw another way. His moment came when a Maya noble named Balaam was attacked by a crocodile during a ritual bath. Without hesitation, Guerrero dove into the river, wrestling the beast until the water turned red. He saved Balaam's life. This act changed everything. Guerrero was freed, given weapons, and welcomed into Maya society. Chapter 5. The Transformation. The Spanish soldier was gone. In his place stood a new man. Guerrero shaved his temples in Maya style. He pierced his ears and nose with jade ornaments, tattooed his body with sacred patterns, and dressed as a warrior. Except for his beard, he was indistinguishable from the people who had once enslaved him. He married Zazilha, the daughter of a Maya chief. Together they had children. The first Mestizos. The first of a new people born of 2 worlds. But Guerrero was not just a husband and father. He was a strategist. He taught the Maya fortifications, ambush tactics, and how to fight Europeans on their own terms. His warriors began to defeat enemies once thought invincible. The former castaway became a prince among the Maya. Chapter 6. Blood and Children. Life with the Maya was both love and terror. Guerrero's children were raised as warriors from birth. Following Maya custom, their skulls were bound with wooden boards to elongate their heads, a mark of nobility. Their ears were pierced, their skin painted, their hair braided with feathers. Legends whisper of his firstborn son, Ishmo. When a plague of locusts destroyed the maize harvest, priests demanded a sacrifice to appease the gods. The child of Guerrero and Zazilha was offered. On the steps of Chichen Itza, the boy's chest was cut open, his heart lifted to the sky. His death was believed to save the harvest. The Spaniard who had once crossed himself at Christian altars now stood helpless, his bloodline given to the gods of another world. And yet, he stayed. He had chosen this life, this people. Even in tragedy, he would not turn back. Chapter 7. Cortés arrives. In 1519, Hernán Cortés landed in Yucatán. Through locals, he learned of 2 Spaniards living among the Maya. He sent letters, urging them to join. Aguilar ran to him, eager to return. He became Cortés's translator, key to the conquest of Mexico. But Guerrero's reply shocked them all. I have a wife. I have children. They are my people now. I cannot abandon them. To Spain, this was treason. To the Maya, it was loyalty beyond price. Chapter 8. Enemy of the Empire. Guerrero became Spain's nightmare. He turned European tactics against the conquistadors. ambushes, trenches, fortified towns. Spanish columns marched into traps, cut down by warriors led by a tattooed man with a beard. In 1527, Francisco de Montejo tried to bribe him back with promises of land and titles. Guerrero refused. His reply was simple: "My family is worth more than your king." Spanish records speak of entire armies delayed, misled, even destroyed because of him. The Maya, inspired by Guerrero, held out decades longer than anyone thought possible. Chapter 9. The Final Battle. By the mid-1530s, Gonzalo Guerrero was no longer a young warrior. Age had carved lines into his face, but his spirit remained unbroken. Around 60 years old, ancient for a soldier of that era, he still fought on the front lines, tattoos glistening with sweat, spear in hand, his beard marking him as the strange foreigner who had become Maya. In 1536, fate finally caught him. During a brutal clash in Honduras, the Spaniards unleashed their steel and fire. A crossbow bolt struck him in the stomach. Moments later, the thunder of an arquebus roared and a lead ball tore into his chest. Guerrero staggered, still gripping his weapon, before collapsing among the warriors he had led for 2 decades. When the smoke cleared, the Spaniards realized who they had killed. They gathered around his body, astonished. Here lay the infamous bearded Maya warlord, the renegade they called traitor, the man who had taught savages to fight like Europeans. To them, this was no ordinary corpse, it was a trophy. The Spaniards carried his body back to camp. Their plan was clear: preserve it, send it across the ocean, and display it in Spain as proof of his betrayal. The conquistador who turned against his king, finally punished. But that night, shadows moved silently through the camp. Maya warriors, risking everything, crept past guards and slipped into the tent where Guerrero's body lay. Without a sound, they lifted their fallen leader and vanished into the jungle. At dawn, the Spaniards discovered only an empty shroud. Guerrero was gone. According to legend, the Maya carried him to a wide river. There, under the moonlight, they placed his body in the current, letting the waters bear him away, back to the sea. The same sea that had once delivered him shipwrecked to their shores. To the Spaniards, his death meant victory. To the Maya, his disappearance meant something more. Their leader would never be paraded as a trophy of empire. Instead, he returned to the ocean, free, even in death. Chapter 10. Legacy of Blood. In Spain, Gonzalo Guerrero's name became a curse, synonymous with betrayal. The soldier who abandoned his king and his faith. But in Mexico, he is remembered differently. Statues show him in Maya dress, holding the hands of his children, the first mestizos. Streets and schools bear his name. In Quintana Roo, his story is sung as part of identity itself. Guerrero was not just a soldier. He was a bridge between civilizations. He chose family over empire, love over conquest. His blood mixed 2 worlds and gave rise to a new nation. This was the story of Gonzalo Guerrero, a castaway who became a Maya warlord, a husband, a father, and the man remembered as the father of the Mestizo nation. Cursed by Spain, celebrated in Mexico. A man who proved that loyalty is not to kings, but to those you choose to call your own. You're watching One Survivor. If this story shook you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More tales of impossible survival are waiting.